and welcome to be making a game of Pong in Python, okay? So this game will have some graphics in it, but it will still be for beginners. And hopefully this game will make you start thinking about how in other games they use graphics, okay? So this is actually a very simple game, so please don't be intrigued by by the word graphics, because these are very simple graphics, and also you don't need to download them. They'll already be there for us. Okay, so I'll be doing this project in PyCharm, and I will not be making you do it by yourself because I just thought I didn't want to. Okay, so I'll just be showing a preview and then we'll get straight onto the game. And don't worry if you don't understand, I will be putting the code in the link below in case you want to review it again. So let's actually get onto our game, but first I need to show you the preview. See you at my PyCharm project. Okay, so here I am, and don't be confused if you see an empty screen. I just don't want you guys to see the code, but don't worry, we'll do it by yourself. Okay, so we'll do it together. Okay, so you don't need to do it by yourself. So I'm just going to run this. And here is my game. You get a nice window, and basically this game is called Pong, okay? And there's two players, but right now I'm just using my two arrows. And what you have to do here is you have to make sure the ball or this square over here that's floating around the screen doesn't go off your side of the screen, otherwise the other player gets a point. But there are no conditions where the game actually ends, so you can stop whenever you like. And at the top there'll be a menu bar, okay? So this is basically the game, and it's very simple, so please don't be burdened by all of this. So let's actually get onto the game. See you. Okay, so here I am, and first, as you saw, I had all of those nice graphics, and these graphics came from a built-in module in Python, and this built-in module is called Turtle. Now, you may or may not have heard of it before, but this module is called Turtle, okay? So you won't really get any errors, okay? If you put it there, because you don't need to install it. It's very simple, okay? So first, what we need to do here is set up the screen. So again, I will be using quite a lot of comments here. So set up the screen. So the reason I'm putting a lot of comments is so it's more organized again. So I'm going to put a variable. I'm going to call this WN, short for window. So this is where we set up our screen. So our variable is basically our screen. So we need to use turtle, our module, and I need to say dot screen. Now here you can see we put a capital here because this is a class, and this will display a screen, and this time we don't need to put in any attributes or anything. Okay, so again I need to say window dot title. Now this is the title of your game. Okay, so I'm going to say Pong by IT guys. Okay, so you don't need to write this, but you can write anything you like, but it will come in the same font or anything. So just write whatever you like over here. And after that, we need to put in the background color of our game. So as you saw in the preview, our background color was black. So that's the classic Pong background. So I need to say window.bg color. So BG color. You need to make sure it's spelled exactly like this. So COLOR. Okay. Otherwise, it won't recognize the function. So, otherwise it won't recognize the method. So, window.bg color, and I'm going to put in black, all in lowercase, okay, because that is the classic color. And now it says we need to size our screen. So, what size do we want it? So, I need to write down window.setup. And we need to put in two attributes over here. So width so the width of our screen, we are going to set that to 800. So this is the recommended one. So the recommended size of our screen. And then we're going to set our height to 600. So notice here how these are highlighted in orange because those are special attributes, okay? Now here, we need to use a method called tracer, okay? And this will make sure like everything is nice and smooth and nothing happens so badly, okay? So I'm going to say window dot tracer. Okay, so we don't need to put in parameters. So if I run this, whoops, let me just run that again. Let me just see what's happening here. So I forgot one last thing. So as you saw here, our screen just appeared and went away. So that is because we need to set up a main game loop as well. Okay, now let me just write some more comments. So hashtag for a comment, main game loop. So the reason it just popped up and went away was because we didn't put anything there. Is because we didn't set up a loop. So I'm going to say while true. There we go. So while true, I'm going to say window dot update. So it will keep our screen there for us. So if I run this again, we've got our nice black screen over here. Okay, so now what we need to do here is we need to set up our paddles. So player A and player B. So we need to set up our paddle and the drifting square or ball, if you want to call it. Okay, so let's close this and close this as well. So as you saw when I ran it and I closed it, these errors came up, but don't worry, that doesn't mean anything. It will not affect your project, okay? So the only time you actually need to look at these errors is when it actually stops you from the screen displaying, okay? So these errors over here did not stop me, so I don't need to worry about them. So here we've only put our screen and our loop over here. So now I need to set up my paddles, okay? So here I'm going to put in here I'm going to just write a few comments to organize it. So first we need to put in paddle A, and then after that we need paddle B. So I'm just organizing the sections here. And after that we need our ball. Okay, so I'm going to just call it a ball. So it's easier to refer to. So first in paddle A, I need to say paddle A. So that's my variable for paddle A is equal to turtle dot turtle. Okay. So here we need to put in our capital letter over here for turtle because this will let us draw shapes with this Python module. And here I need to say paddle A dot speed is equal to 0. Now you may think that this is the speed of the actual movement, but actually this is just the speed of the animation, and really we just set it to 0, so it won't really affect the speed or anything. And after that we need to set up our shape. Okay, so I'm going to say paddle A dot shape. Whoops. Shape, sorry, there we go. And what our shape is going to be is we're going to set it to a square, okay? But don't worry, we are going to stretch the square sooner or later, okay? So we need to put in square in all lowercase over here. And after that we need to set the color of our square. So I'm going to set paddle A dot color, so color, otherwise it won't recognize the method. And this color will be white, so again all in lowercase, and this is actually the classic Pong color, so for the paddles and the ball. Now here we are going to say paddle dot pen up. Okay, so what this will do, it will draw our paddle for us with sorry, I just put in paddle A. It'll draw a paddle for us, but it won't actually let us see while it's drawing. Okay, and now we need to set the position of our paddle. So paddle A dot go to. Okay, and we're going to set this to the left side of the screen. Okay, so imagine this whole window as a screen, and we want our paddle to be on this side. Okay, so here we're going to say paddle A dot go to. So this method will let us set where we want to put in our paddle. So I'm going to say minus 350, so it'll be at the left side, and obviously that's the x coordinate. So obviously that's the y doesn't matter what coordinate it is. So obviously this is the x coordinate. As you can see here, it says x float, y float. Okay, so this will just be recognized as a float, so don't worry. And then we need to put in 0. So this is where it is positioned. Now let's see what happens here. So as you can see here, our paddle is actually a little bit too small. So as I told you before, we need to stretch it so it's like an actual paddle. Now, just after where we define the color, we need to define the size of our paddle. So I'm going to say paddle A dot shape size. So it'll let us change the size. And here I'm going to say stretch width. So the stretch width is going to be set to 5, and I want to stretch the length to 1. Okay, so now if we run it, we notice that this is a good paddle, and it is the size of a normal paddle. Okay, so now all we need to do here is for paddle B and the ball, we just need to copy and paste this because the ball will be same as well. So I'm just going to copy that and paste it here. And obviously over here, we need to change paddle A to paddle B. So it will be exactly the same. And this, and wait, let me just change all of this quickly. Sorry, it's taking a long time. And now, instead of putting the position to 350, we want to put the position to minus 350. So it will be on the right side of our screen. Okay, so that is paddle B done. And now we need to put in our ball. And this time, instead of paddle A, I want to put in ball. So I'm just going to select all of this. So ball. So I've got a quicker way to do this. So if I just copy and paste that, and then write that, it's a bit more quicker. Okay, so obviously we don't need this line because as you saw, our ball is actually tiny, so it doesn't really matter if it doesn't really matter. And obviously here we want to set we want to set the position of our ball to 0, 0. So now, sorry about that. Let me just see what happened here. So here we so for paddle B, it disappeared as you saw there. So obviously here we need to, sorry if you saw something there. Here we need to make sure we've got pen up, go to, and as I told you, we need to change this to 350, sorry. And now, there we go. We've got our ball in the middle, and we've got our paddles here. Okay, so that's our starting position we are going to start with. Okay, now what we need to do, whoops, let me just take that away. And now what we need to do is we need to work out how to make our paddles move. And we need to make them move with different controls. So the left side paddle will move with the control W and X, and the right side paddle will move with the up arrow and the down arrow. Okay. So now let's actually define our functions. Let's actually define our functions um for our paddle movement. Okay. So I'm going to just put in function over here so we know we're defining functions. And just a note, we are not going to be using classes. We'll only be using functions, and it will be quite simple to use. Okay, so I'm going to say paddle, and wait, sorry, we need to use the def keyword. So def paddle a up. Okay, because we need to write a function for moving it up and one for moving it down. So paddle a up. I'm going to say y, so the y coordinate is equal to paddle a dot y core, so short for y coordinate. Okay, we don't need to pass in any parameters here, and the reason I put in y core is, whoops, let me just put in my brackets there, sorry. So the reason I put in y core is because we know that we're moving along the y coordinate. Okay, so after we have written that, we need to say y plus equals 20. So now we need to add 20 more pixels to y. We need to add 20 more pixels to y, so we can move a bit more up the screen. But we won't be able to see it. Sorry about that, but we won't be able to see it. Okay, so after that, I need to say paddle a dot set y, and I need to put in the coordinate y so we can move it around. Okay, now after we have done that, we need to call this function. We need to use something called keyboard binding. Okay, now what keyboard binding is it's when it's when our keyboard it's when our keyboard listens to the player's outputs, to the player's inputs, like their key inputs. So here I'm going to put in 2 lines over here. There we go. Put in hashtag keyboard binding. Okay, now Turtle, so our module has a special method called listen. So listen out for the user's input or taking the user's input. So we need to say wn dot listen. We don't need to put in any parameters here, and we are going to use the method on key press. Okay, so window dot on key press. So we are going to put in paddle a up, and I want to put in another string. So I want to put in a string w. So what it's going to do here is it's going to call our paddle a up function over here, and it will make sure this method this function only calls when we press the key W. So let's test that out. And also notice how I am frequently testing out. So I am pressing W and it's going off the screen, but it'll only go 20 pixels off, so don't worry. Okay, now let me just close this. Now we need to make sure we do a paddle a down function. So here I just need to copy and paste that. So, and whoops, sorry, let me just undo that. There we go. So we've done that, and instead of paddle A up, we need paddle A down. Now the reason I'm putting one separately for up and down is because it will be much easier. Okay, so that is why I am doing that. Now instead of y plus equals 20, I'm going to say my y minus equal 20. But don't worry, this won't minus pixels. It will just add 20 more pixels at the bottom. Actually, no, it will add sorry, it will take away 20 more pixels from the screen, but it will only take it away from the bottom, so our player does not go off the bottom. Otherwise, that would be a really bad consequence. Okay, so this is basically similar to our paddle A up, and this time we need to add it into our keyboard binding. So I'm going to say window dot on key press again, and this time I'm going to put in paddle A down, and this take away the brackets. Okay, so paddle A down, and this time I'm going to put in S as a string because, as I told you before, the left side player, so paddle A, will be using the W and S keys to move up and down, and they can only move up and down. So now we have done that, we can try it again, and this time we can move up and down. Okay, so we can move up and we can move down. Okay, so that's working. Now we need to put in them for our paddle A, for our paddle B. So we need to put in up and down for paddle B. So again, I just need to copy and paste that. And change this, sorry, just change A to B. Change A to B here. Change it to B over here. Okay. And so we need to change all the paddle A's to paddle B, so it knows we're doing it for paddle B. Okay. Okay, so now this is so now we've actually programmed the paddles so we can move them. So again, we need to add them to our keyboard binding. So I'm just going to copy that and paste it. And instead of paddle A up, we want to put in paddle B up. And instead of paddle A down, we want to put paddle B down. And if you want to put in the up and down keys, we need to put a capital U and then up. So we need to capitalize it. And then down. So the first letter has to be capital. Okay. So now let's try it and let's see if we can move it. Okay, so I can move paddle B. I can move paddle A. But no, we cannot move both of them at the same time because that is how Pong is. So there's no problem. And notice how we can't move to side, and that's perfect because we don't want to do that. Okay, so that's working. And now what we want to do is what we want to do here is we want to what we want to do here is we want to put in the ball movement now, okay? Because that is important as well because we want something to hit, okay? So right here, because we're adding the ball movement, we need to go to ball now because as you might know, we need to add a speed to the ball. Now, I'm going to put in ball.dx. So just put in dx. Just put in dx. It's nice and easy to refer to. I'm gonna put 0.25. Now some of you may want to put 0.5 if you have a fairly slow computer. And note it. And if I put it at 5 here, so ball.dy as well is equal to 0.5. So, sorry, not 0.5, minus 0.5 over here. If I put 0.5, then my ball is going to go too fast because it will go fast depending on your computer speed. So you need to adjust it here. So I'm going to put in, so instead of, I'm going to put in 0.25 here. So actually, if your computer is fairly slow, you should put in 5. Okay, so not 0.5, 5 because otherwise it'll go really slow. So just experiment with these at the end of the game, so not now, because they will be really important if you don't want to make your game too hard. So again, as I told you, we want to make our ball move. So we are going to do that within our main game loop. So I'm going to put in a comment and I'm going to say move the ball. So we know this is where we are going to move the ball. And here I'm going to say ball.set x first. So this will make sure the ball moves along the x-axis as well as the y-axis. And I'm going to say, I'm going to put in the, whoops, let me just take out this extra brackets, there we go. I'm going to say ball dot x core, so the x coordinate of the ball, so we can move the ball around. And we are going to we're going to make sure that it moves with the speed of our ball dx. Okay, so remember we said I put my ball dx as 0.25. You can put out 5 if you like, but it may go fast if your computer's fast, and mine is, so I put 0.25. So here, I'm going to make sure that my ball moves to the speed of 0.25 along, along the x-axis. So I'm going to say ball dot dx. So it knows that I'm putting in my speed of the x-axis that I want it to move along. So after that, I just want to put in ball dot set y. So it's similar, and I'm going to put in ball dot y core instead, because it's the y coordinate. And again, I want to concatenate that with ball dot dy instead of dx. Okay, now let's test out what our ball is doing. So if we test that out, our ball is going pretty slow, so I'm just going to change my ball speed to 5. So I'm just gonna start experimenting. So this is what you should do when you're playing a game. So you should experiment and do stuff like that. So I'm just going to change it to 1. Now I'll just see you when I've got the correct speed. Okay, so I just set my speed to 1.5, and our ball is moving. Okay, so that's pretty good so far. And as you can see there, our ball is just moving off the screen. So now we want to set a border for our ball so it can rebound off the border when it reaches. So that is what we are going to do. So what we're going to do here is, again, inside our main loop, so our main game loop, we want to do border checking. So I'm just going to write that down. Border checking. There we go. And here we are going to make the ball move the other direction if it goes to the border of the screen. So here you may want to use a bit of logic here. So here, as you can see, the height of our screen is 600. So first we're going to do the top and the bottom. So here, obviously, the height is 600. So we're going to split the height into 300 and 300. Okay, so so the top will be 300 pixels and the bottom will be 300 pixels. Tall. Okay, so I'm going to say if ball dot y course, so the y, so because it will be moving along the y coordinate, then if it collides into the height, if it is larger than 290, so don't say that to 300, say that 290 instead. So if it's bigger, that obviously means it's gone off the screen. So we put on our colon there. And here I'm going to say ball dot set y. I'm going to set it to 290, so it just rebounds off the screen. So it should go in the other direction. Okay, and after I've done that, I'm going to say ball dot dy times equals -1. So hopefully these two should make sure our ball rebounds off. So let's test that out. So if it goes off here, it should rebound. Whoops, maybe it's just the other side. So let's put in the other side as well. So I'm going to say, oh, I'm just going to actually, let's just copy and paste this. So in Turtle, you need to use multiple if statements. So there's no such thing as elif and else like that. So I'm just going to put in another if statement over here. So if the ball.y core again, it is this time we need to reverse it. So if it's smaller than minus 290, then obviously it's gone off the bottom side of the screen. So here we want to say ball.set.y. We want to set it to minus 290 so it gets off the screen. Okay, and this is still the same. So now let's test that out and see if it works. So I'm just waiting. Yes, so hopefully that actually worked. So again, as you saw, it went through the left and right side. So we need to make sure we keep track of that as well. So I'm going to say, I'm just going to write down if ball dot x coordinate, because in Turtle the x coordinate is basically this side and the y coordinate is this side, weirdly. So if the ball dot x core, if it is bigger than minus 390, so not 290, 390. So the reason I wrote that down is because the width is 800, so one side will be 400 pixels, the other side will be 400 pixels, so we need to put 390. So just one less, so we don't see the ball disappear. So if it is bigger than minus 390, obviously it has gone off the screen again, and we need to reverse the direction so it doesn't go off the screen. So I'm going to say ball dot go to. So we're not going to reverse it, sorry. We're going to get it back to the middle. So 0, 0. So we're going to get it back to the middle as soon as it goes off the screen on the left side or the right side. Okay, and I'm going to say ball dot dx this time times equals minus 1. Okay, so it should go off and then quickly it should bounce off, so go the other direction and then quickly go back to its starting position. So let's do the other side as well, so we can copy and paste that again. Control V, there we go. So instead of sorry about this mistake here. So it's not minus 390. Here it's minus 390. Just got a bit mixed up here. So here, if the ball x coordinate is bigger than 390. So sorry about that confusion there. So if it's bigger than 390, then we want our ball to go to 1, 1. So 0, 0, sorry, so to its starting position. And here, if the ball dot x coordinate is smaller than minus 390, it's gone off the other side of the screen, and we need to get it back to the middle. So now let's test it out and see what it does. So it's going to rebound off there. It's gonna quickly go back to the middle and then go on the other side. Okay, so here this is working perfectly. So now what our next step is our next step is to set up a score every time the ball goes off the left or the right side. So at the top, so let me just go to the top over here. So right below where we define the screen, so here it says, so right below here, I'm going to put in a comment saying score, and here I need to define two variables. So score A, so for player A, so the for paddle A, so that will be score A will be if player A gets a point, and score B will be for paddle B. Score B will be if paddle B or player B gets a point. Now here, what we need to do is again, right after we define our ball, I'm going to put in something called pen. So in Turtle there's a pen and it will write text for you. So I'm going to say pen is equal to Turtle dot turtle, so capital for our class turtle over here. So this one will draw or write something. And we want to put a pen speed, okay? So this won't like put any speed to the pen, it's just the animation speed, okay? So pen speed is pen speed, you put 0. There we go. So the animation speed is 0. And obviously we want to put our pen color to white. Now you may be thinking, why are you putting down something saying pen? Well, that is because we want to keep track of the player A and player B score. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say the pen color. So I'm going to set the pen dot color. So again, COLOR. So pen, I'm going to set my pen color to white. Okay, so it will stand out against the black background. And also I want to say pen dot pen up, so we don't actually see the pen writing. And also what we want to do here is I'm going to put in pen dot hide turtle, because we don't want to actually see the pen. So we want to hide it, and it will write while we can't see, and that will be pretty useful for us over here. So what I want my pen to write, so I'm going to say pen dot write. First we need to put in the text we want our pen to write. So I'm going to say player A. I'm going to set the default score to 0, so it will start increasing whenever the ball goes off the screen. And then I'm going to say player B is equal, not equal, colon, and put in 0, because no one has scored anything yet. And after we put in our text, we want to put in a comma, and we want to put in where we want to align our we want to put in where we want to align our writing. So we want to align it somewhere up the top. So we didn't define that, did we? So I'm going to say pen dot go to, and it's going to go to 0 260. So that will be near the top over here. If you imagine this is the window, it'll start over here. And the reason I'm putting it in a line is because once it has been written, it will align the writing around that top bit around. So that is obviously where the text is going to be displayed. So I'm going to say center, so it aligns around the center of the area we made our pen go to. And also we want to put in a font as well. So I thought for our font we could put in Courier, because it's a nice font. So our font is Courier, and we want the size to be 24. So let me just see why this is. Don't worry. Don't worry. We need to put in font equals. That's why it says that. So obviously font is equal to 24. Don't worry. Don't worry about the error over there. And we're going to put in normal, because we want our writing to be normal. No bubble writing, no bold, just normal. Okay, so the normal writing you write when you don't put in anything like bold or italic or underlined. Okay, so it's just going to be normal. So now we want to call when we want to display our text. So first, remember I told you we are going to do that when the ball goes off the left or right side. Okay, so if the ball.x coordinate goes off if it goes off this side over here, so that will be paddle B side, then obviously player A gets a point. So I'm going to say score A plus equals 1. Okay, so that is because we want to add 1 to our score. And then obviously we want to say pen dot write, so it's going to write down this. So what we want it to write, Actually, let's take that away. Instead, we can just copy and paste up here, and we can just copy and paste what's up here and tweak it a bit. So pen.write, so Control C, and then we go down here. Okay, there we go. So Control V. So obviously we want to write player A, but we're not going to set the score to 0. So now I'm going to use the F string method here. And put in my curly braces. So what we want to put in here is score A, because that will be player A's score. So if we take out the curly braces here, we can put in score B. Okay, so that's all we need to write there. And the same we need to do here as well. So instead of the score A increasing, because the ball will go off this side, so it'll go off paddle A side, we want to increase score B's. We want to increase score B. So I'm going to say score B plus equals 1. And I just want to copy this because it will be exactly the same. So if I copy that, paste that, there we go. So we've done that. Now let's actually test it. Okay, so if I test it, we've got our text up here, so that's working. So right now, our thing didn't really bounce off. So we didn't really define that, did we? So what we need to do here is, here I only thought about that. So as you saw here, our ball just went right through the thing. So first we need to, I'm going to put in a comment saying paddle and ball collisions. I thought there was something missing there, but I thought I'd leave it until then. Okay, so paddle and ball collisions. So obviously we want our thing to collide and not just go off the screen. So not just go through the paddle. So what I'm going to say here is if, and I'm going to put in brackets. So I'm going to say if ball, because the reason I'm putting in brackets is because I'm going to be using and over here. So I'm going to say if ball.x coordinate is smaller than 340, and then if I just put that there, so if it's smaller than 340 and the ball dot x coordinate, so x, if the ball dot x coordinate is also smaller than 350. Now this is very confusing, but this I'll explain it to you in a minute. So if it's bigger than 340 and smaller than 350, now that's our first condition. Now we need to put in and again, put in another set of brackets, and we want to say our ball dot y coordinate as well. If it is smaller than the paddle B dot y coordinate. So so what I'm trying to say here is if it actually just collides with if it collides with our paddle B, obviously we want it to bounce off. So if it collides, so that's our one condition over here, when it collides off. And if it if the y coordinate of our ball is, if the y coordinate of our ball is minus 40. Okay, so this may seem confusing, but all I'm trying to say here is if the ball collides with our paddle. So I'm going to say ball dot set x, and I'm going to set our x to 340 so it rebounds off. Okay, and I'm also going to say ball dot dx times, whoops, not plus, times equals minus 1. So it will rebound off. And again, I want to copy and paste this over here. So there we go. So if I copy and paste this, we've got ball dot. So this is all correct, but instead of 340, so instead of 340, I want to put in minus 340, and here I'm gonna put in, smaller than instead of greater than. Okay, and again here I'm going to say ball dot x coordinate is, so this bit will stay the same, and instead of putting in paddle B, we want to put in paddle A. And here we want to put in, so that stays the same, and obviously we just need to change that bit over there. Okay, so that's what we needed to do. That was all we needed to do, and we need to change this 340 to minus 340. Now, if we try this again, let's see if our ball actually collides off. Okay, so that collides off. Now let's check if it collides off A. Okay, so this is actually the actual speed of the ball or the thing. Okay, so that collides off. So now let's test what it will say if our ball goes off player B's screen. It looks like it's gonna collide, doesn't it? Okay, so what it did there, it collided off the border. So we need to fix that again. So if we go to border checking and check everything over here, so obviously we need to put in bigger than 200. So we need to check this one over here. Okay, so if the ball dot x coordinate is greater than 390, then we want our ball to go to 0, 0. Okay, and here we're saying our ball dot dx is times equal, so ball dot dx. So I put in ball dot dx over here. So instead of putting in so here we put in dx. So sorry if I'm confusing you guys. So all I'm trying to say here, we put in ball dot dx, so that's correct. Sorry about that confusion. I put in minus 1, so that works. So after that, we need to put in if, again, we need to put in if the ball dot x coordinate is, smaller than minus 390, then we want our ball to go to 0, 0, ball dot dx times equal to minus 1. So that worked. So I'm just going to check what happened here. Okay, so I fixed my error, and what happened is my computer just got a bit stuck and a bit mixed up. So I just used the dot format method instead, and I made it a bit more simple. So now let's actually try it out. So my ball is going pretty fast and it's working, but as you can see here, all my scores are overlapping each other, and also my ball is going a bit fast. I don't know why, but it's just going a bit fast. So what I'm just going to do here is I'm gonna quickly just change this to 2.5 very quickly. There we go. And the reason why it's overlapping is because I did not the reason why it's overlapping is because I didn't clear the area. So what we need to do here is, before we put in the actual score, we need to say pen dot clear. And what it will do here is it's going to clear the area before we actually write. So if I say pen dot clear here as well, it will clear it for us. Whoops, sorry. Sorry about that. So if I just run this, okay, so I've got my nice thing over here. So if I use WAS, now the score's coming perfectly, and if it goes off the screen, it's obviously putting the scores correctly. Okay, so that's working good. Now the only thing we need to do now is, obviously, we need to put in some audio. Okay, so I've already got an audio and it's called bounce wave. So I will put that in the comments. If so, you just need to download it. And also, if I go into my files, and I've got a file called PyCharm projects. I'm going into here, and I've got my Pong file, and here's my bounce wave, and we need to keep our bounce wave sound in the same file as our actual project file, otherwise it will not recognize it. Now, a way we can do this is, well, first I'm going to demonstrate the Linux way. So we need to import something called OS. Okay, and here we want to play the sound. So the first area where we play the sound is when the first area where we want to play the sound is when it is when it over here. So when our paddle collides with the ball. So what I'm going to do here is say os dot os dot, let me just remember. So os dot system, because it will scan through your system and find the sound. And here in Linux, so not Mac, I will demonstrate that after I've done this. So in Linux, if you have Linux, you need to say a play and then bounce wave, or any sound you want. But I thought this sound is actually quite nice because it's a classic Pong sound. So if we try this, if we put this here as well, so I'm just gonna copy and paste that for everything. So Control C. There we go. So if I just copy and paste it. And the other area we want to do it is when it collides on the top and bottom. So we do that here. And now, if you listen, so you notice that when it rebounds off, it stops the whole system and makes the sound. Now we don't want that, so we put in the ampersand, so it will not rebound off, so it will not stop everything. Okay, so now if we try this, it's going very nice and smoothly. So now if you have macOS, all you need to do here is, it's exactly the same as Linux, except instead of A play, you need to put in AF play. And that's all you need to do. Okay, so, but Windows is a little bit different, and it won't work on here because I'm on Linux and not Windows, but I'll tell you how to do it anyway. So first, you need to say, instead of importing OS, you need to say import win sound. So you can play a sound. So obviously I don't have the module, okay, because I'm not on Windows, I'm on Linux. And when you are trying to play the sound, what you need to do is, let me just scroll down. Instead of putting a play bounce wave and all of that, I need to put in win sound dot play sound. So notice the capitals here, play, P and S. So win sound dot play sound. So don't worry about my errors here, it's because I don't have Windows. So win sound dot play sound, and then we need to put in our file name. So bounce dot wave. So that's the name of my file. And after you've done that, after you've put in your file name, you need to put in win sound dot, and then in all caps, SND, short for sound, and then async. So this is basically the same as putting in the ampersand for Mac and Linux. Okay, so let me just take this away, because obviously it's not going to work on my computer. So if I take this away, there we go. So now this is actually basically a game. So let's try and see if it works. So sorry, let me just take away that win sound from there again. So if I go through here, import OS, there we go. So that is working. Now let's actually test out our game. So if it goes off the screen, it's working, and the sounds are pretty nice. And if it collides, and it makes the noise. Now notice. Let me just So it is working. Now, as you can see here, whenever the sound plays, so let me just move this. Whenever the sound plays, you can see these over here. Now, don't consider them as errors. It's just telling me when the sounds are playing. So that is basically a game, and if you want to review your code, you can go to the comments and there'll be a file there with all my code in it. You can review it and compare and see if you did it properly. Otherwise, you can review and code otherwise you can code along with my code. And I will also be putting the bounce wave file in the comments. Or you can, or if you don't want to use that, you can go and make your own sound. And I would actually prefer that, but you can use bounce wave if you don't want to do that. So, please subscribe to this video and please tell me how your game went and what sounds you used. I would really love to see. Please please like this video and comment down below like I said before, and I guess that's the end of this video. Bye.